Okay, that's the TRC first of all. We're getting some great news from Europe as well. Hey, go, we run to my country. Oh yeah, the heavy load is about to come down from our heads. God is tonight, and He's giving us a light one to carry. Alright, coming on shortly is a program, a print news review, news and developments from across the continent of Africa, world, and of course Mama Liberia. Yes, you know, it's not good when you sometimes when you get the news that you're waiting for, that you want, it just comes like that. It's like you just want to look through it. One by one. I told you the last time, it doesn't matter whether they're big fish or small fish. Fish that fish. When we catch you, we'll celebrate. Thank you, France. Thank you, UK. Thank you, Belgium. Thank you, Switzerland. Thank you, USA. Yes. We're just waiting for our studio guests now to come in the house. We'll be here. Mr. Fidel, TC Booty, CT Booty, whichever way. Let's say good evening this morning, the morning, the afternoon, or whatever time it is. To His Excellency, Dr. Weir. Of course, the former Vice President of Liberia. Pap Jones Barkai. Good evening to you, sir. May God be with you. Okay, we're just waiting to see. I got a signal from our would-be guest, Mr. Booty. He'll be here very, very soon, so we can start the show. We got some news coming from the BBC. The news by Public Trust. AllAfrica.com. Front Page Africa. I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing you here at all. hasn't appeared yet. Your request hasn't appeared yet. Oh, I can't even see you. Just seeing you now. Beautiful one there. A great kisses on there. The interpretation is the law has taken my heavier bono, the heaviest bono I was carrying, and gave me a light, very light one. So I mean, who wouldn't want to be in that position anyway? Fidel, good evening. How are you, sir? Welcome.
I'm good, Max. How are you?
I'm good. Let me carry the volume a little bit up so that the other people can hear you. Good. Okay, I think it's okay now. It's great to see you, man. Great to see you once again. Wonderful man working for Mama Liberia. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Max. Thank you.
Okay. Fidel, first of all, today before we go home, let's before we go home, let me see to know about what happened is let's start off with where we are, where we have been given this opportunity to be here, to live here. Hello, Mary, welcome. And to be here freely and things. We got this thing the people call say we are trying to leave Britain. No, the Union, that's the Europe. You know, the Brexit thing is, I think we're almost there because just a couple of months now we'll be in March. And we're not, I mean, even from the government perspective, not much now is being discussed. All we know, we are out. Even the Prime Minister question on Wednesday. What I seem to be saying, say, well, how we know we are out? Almost out. For now, March the 29th, we're out. So, okay, I don't know. What is your whole general feeling about this Brexit thing, man? You think?
Well, I still remember waking up on, I think it was Thursday, the 16th of June, 2016, and turning on television and looking at BBC News to see that the majority of those who voted have voted for us to leave the EU. And I was shocked because I didn't think that it was going to happen, but it did. And I think one of the things that you have to do in life is when you're handed, when you're dealt a card, you have to, accept the hand that you've been dealt, and you have to play according to the game. So, look, the union is going to be, the UK is going to be out of the union come what may. So in March next year. At the end of the day, look, if the Prime Minister gets a deal where the UK is out of the EU and we're still paying taxes to the EU and still having to abide by EU laws, personally, even though I wouldn't have voted for leave, I think that would be a kick in the teeth. I think whatever the break is, it has to be a complete divorce. Because at the end of the day, the majority, look, it's democracy. We live in a country where there's laws and people have the right to decide what it is that they want to achieve. And once the majority of the people have voted for us to leave, then we have to respect that. And whatever happens, we will be leaving. I think it should be a clean break because that's what people voted for. I think most of the people who voted, if you ask, then they'll tell you they voted for a clean break. Immigration was high on the agenda, and people wanted to have control of their borders, and that's why they voted for Brexit. So we have to, or the Prime Minister has to make sure that she gives the people who voted what they voted for. And what they voted for was not a Brexit where we've left, but then we're like Norway, where you're not in the EU, you can't vote on EU regulations, but then you have to abide by all of those regulations. I know, even though I wouldn't have voted to leave, I would be angry as well if we ended with that kind of Brexit, where my tax dollars are still supporting Brussels, but then the people who represent us can't make decisions in Brussels. I'll be angry. Yeah. And I wasn't in favor of leave, so you can see how complicated the Prime Minister's job is.
Yeah, but I don't even know whether Fidel. I mean, the number one, the number one thing that as you just mentioned, which is immigration. If I mean, feeling that too many people are coming in the UK, and they are complaining that this island is just a small island now. The tire taking too many people also. But from where we stand now, and although the number according to statistics is dropping, but people are still coming anyway. Now, if between now and March, or after March 29, 2019, we have, we virtually become, we are on our own. Let's put it that way. Irrespective whether we becomes in the same situation as how Norway is. I don't know whether you have any concern whether indeed maybe the other guys that we're sharing the borders with, they might be relaxed on their side once the people come there and they say because many of them when they reach to any border, where you want to go, they say I want to go UK. You don't think the people on our side will be quite relaxed and say, okay, you're just pass, and it will become somehow difficult?
Well, the thing is, getting to Ireland is probably one of the most difficult of all the European countries, I think, because they're kind of tucked away behind the UK. Getting there is you have to go through the United Kingdom to get to Ireland. Having
Mm-hmm.
said that, there will be flights that will be going directly to Dublin and other parts of of Southern Ireland. And look, I don't know. I honestly do not know. If we got a hard Brexit, that means the border between North and South of the Irish island will be a hard border. It means that people coming from the Republic into Northern Ireland will have to go through customs. They'll have to go through immigration checks
Yeah.
and things like that. So look, Max, I'm only like I said, I didn't support the Leave campaign. I was more of a Remainer.
Mhm.
But now that the population has voted to leave the European Union and
Yeah.
for Britain to be on our own, then we, I mean, all of us who are living here, including the Prime Minister, has to make sure that the will of the people is respected. And the will of the people, as from my understanding and from those I spoke with, who voted to leave, their will is, look, we want to leave and we want to leave like totally. We want to have complete control of our borders.
Hmm.
It's scary because the thing is, immigration, migration is something that's never going to end.
Yeah.
There will always be immigration. There will be economic migrants. There will be political migrants. There will be migrants who are fleeing due to natural disasters. Obviously, global warming and climate change have led to adverse weather. I was looking at a documentary, not a documentary, but a graph today on how countries across the world have gotten a bit warmer. And Liberia in 2017, compared to Liberia a few years ago, we added about 1.1 centimeter of uh, centigrade of warmness. And other countries like Russia and Mongolia, and they've gone like four, +4. So at the end of the day, these are places where they've been used to like really icy weather and very cold weather. And if those places start to warm up, the species of plants that they have there might start to die. The animals that they kind of rare there might start to struggle. And when those things happen, people have to move. At the end of the day, that's just what life is. If you can't
Hmm.
survive in one part of the world, then you move to another part of the world to try and find a way of survival. And there will always be migrants. That's the point I'm trying to make. And
Yeah.
the Britain can never shut its borders entirely. People, this country will always need experts to come and work here. Those experts will bring their families with them. You've got some of us who live here, who have families living overseas, who want to bring our families over as well
Yeah.
to come and
Yeah.
live with us. So there will always be some form of migration.
Mm.
How you handle that and how to deal with it will be something that we'll have to wait and see after March next year.
Yeah.
But you know, I can't see us getting away entirely from the migrant crisis. That's always
Yeah.
going to be there.
It's always going to be, especially the Mediterranean Sea as well. I think until the issue, some of those issues can actually be tackled. Like the Prime Minister went to Nigeria, uh, and the three African countries she traveled to, especially West Africa, she was quite concerned about the immigration as well. But what she was saying there is that she would rather like to see these governments empowered in a way that that empowerment should reflect down to the young people. That to really do those things that will keep young people in their country instead of always taking those treacherous journey also. But in that, I'm looking at it from the perspective of where, like African leaders, we are so corrupt also. Even if they give them millions of dollars for any project that will benefit the young people, it will only end up in the people's pockets.
Well, Max, if I can just interject just quite quickly, look, we're in this framework of globalization. And as much as we will want to say that African leaders are corrupt, and yes, African leaders are corrupt, but the bulk of the money that these countries give to African countries do not even leave their countries. I'll give you an example. When the UK government say to the OECD, when they report to the OECD that we've given $20 billion this year or 20 billion pounds this year, probably about 8 billion of that stay within the UK economy. And I'll tell you how it happens. For example, the UK government has this scholarship scheme called Shivini. And what they do is they offer scholarships to students from all over the world to come to the UK to study for about a year, to do a master's. Now, each of those students have to pay fees to universities here in the UK. So that money counts towards part of that donation that the UK said they've given to, say, Liberia, for example. When the students come here, they get a stipend. That stipend is used to pay for housing, is used to buy food in the UK, is used to pay for electricity, used to pay for books, for telecommunication. All of that stays in the UK. On top of that, when they pay for travel for these students to come here, they buy the travel tickets from travel agencies that are based in the UK. So at the end of the day, apart from those students who get to save £200-300 a month, to send back home, if they spend £80,000 on one student, probably 6,000 of that get to go back to the home country. But when they account for how much they've given to that home country, they will account for each student as £80,000. So, at the end of the day, similar with the US, when the US say, oh, we've given 20 million to this country, they will give you 20 million in food aid. They buy the food from US farmers and send the food to you. So the money doesn't actually leave these countries. So obviously, yes, some of it does. And those little bits that do leave, when they get to Africa, that's when our leaders get, a bit creative with the money. But at the end of the day, if you understand, having worked within the development aid sector, when you understand how development aid works, even the ones that go to Africa, Max, most of the expats that go there are from these countries. They send their people to go and work and run their projects, and those guys get paid thousands and thousands. We complain about how much our officials of government make. If you see how much these expats make, 10,000 a month, and then again extra 5,000 for their children to go to school, and then another 2,000 for health insurance. And by the time they've paid themselves all that money, all of the money come right back here. So at the end of the day, Africa is not benefiting as much. Look, people will say, oh, well, you're just saying this, but that's the fact. The fact of the matter is close to about 80% of the money that these countries say that they give to us don't actually leave their countries. Their money actually stay here. We only get about 20% of it.
That being said, and this is why Nana Addo is saying that let's forget about it. Is the Tanzanian leader is saying, let's work hard and forget about backing the people, because if we keep backing, some of them know, like what you say in the account you're giving is quite. It's true for some of us who are working in the NGO as well. That's the fact of it. Yeah, I remember carrying three people to Liberia when we're doing this health promotion thing, and when we applied for the funding was merely to take the three of us and spend it 1 week there, and then be able to come back also. But within the funding and all the project, what we're supposed to spend, transportation, everything, and the people who were going, actually, their care and what they need to live on before coming back to the UK was even higher than what we put in the main project. So I agree with you. It's hard, but that's the circumstances that we find ourselves in. But then at the same time, our leaders are quite happy to say we're running behind it every day. So instead of us making use of what we have, but let me come back hypothetically, yeah. if today, I know, let's take away. I just talking now because at the end of the day we are already out of the euro anyway. But if today, because I mean, even on mainstream, they still asking these questions as well. If today there's a reverse and say, well, look, we're going to have a referendum again to finally decide whether we should leave or not. Do you think, I just using the word, the condition, if you think the leavers will be in more number as compared to the past, or you think the remain will actually top the list?
Well, I think first of all, Max, I'm just gonna say something quickly towards what you said earlier. It's one of the books that I love to read is a book by the late Ghanaian president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, called Neocolonialism. And when you read that book, it tells you about how the new form of colonialism is being implemented to keep Africa where we are. Most of these countries, and we've seen with most of our leaders across the continent who have stood up to the West, they tend to disappear off the face of the planet. These guys are not going to sit back and allow their economies to go to bust, because Africans are going to stand up on their own. There has to be a way that we can do it, but at the end of the day, the framework that is in place in the world at the moment doesn't allow for us to be able to do that. Now, having said that, I think, look, any attempt to go back on the election results of June 2016, in my opinion, will be wrong. I think we need to respect. Look, Max, I like democracy. Obviously, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But in this case, we opted for a simple majority. And the simple majority voted that we should leave. Now, the problem is, if we go and renege on that decision, where do we stop? Because then the next general elections, whoever get elected, we can say, oh, no, we're not happy with the result, that this party won. Let's go back and have another election. And then we go back, and then the party we like didn't win. We say, no, we're not happy. Where do we stop? It's the people, they call that the opening Pandora's box. You don't want to open Pandora's box, because at the end of the day, there will be no end to, going back and canceling people's decision. The decision was made. Some of us disliked the decision, but we're happy to live with it. And look, whatever this country has to go through after Brexit, it has to go through, and people will just have to get used to it and get on with their lives. There will always be a way for people to survive. There will always be hardships. So even within the EU, there were hardships for some people. A lot of people who voted to leave voted because they felt that they were getting the raw end of the deal. So even after Brexit, some people will still get the raw end of the deal. Wales, where you and I live, for example, a lot of our funding in Wales come from the EU directly, and England is not going to send that money back to Wales. So how is Wales going to survive within this new framework of the UK outside of the EU? We don't know. So you and I, for example, might have to move to England. I don't know. We have to wait and see what happens. But look, the Welsh people voted to leave. Obviously they will have to be the ones that can decide whether they're happy with their decision in the end. But I don't think going and canceling the decision would be the right thing, because it will open up a kettle of worms that we can't put back into the box.
Great analysis. Anyway, the questions that are being asked on BBC and other news outlets as well, but it's just a matter of trying to find out. But we know definitely we can't go back. Even yesterday, Wednesday, during the Prime Minister question, the Welsh MPs were asking similar questions what you just touched on. Also, I think right now we're feeling it. But anyway, thank you so much for that analysis. We're just trying to let you know of what is happening here as well in the UK. Sometimes, at least we have to balance our analysis here as well, just to keep you informed with respect to how things are going on here, since we're filing our divorce proceedings to leave the euro. So things are not going too well with us, but we're handling it some kind of way. That's why you see our rate in terms of our economy or currency between the pounds, US dollars, or other currencies is up to now. I mean, for 2 years now or so. I mean, it's not been stable at all. Let's see quickly just before. I think our guest only got 1 hour with us here, just in case. Okay, let's go quickly to the Africa.com. Let's bring you some of the stories that are trending across the continent. Zimbabwe, let's quickly. Okay, in Zimbabwe, Nangawa announces cabinet. So naming, he has begun appointing ministers in his government as well. Nigeria country drifting into anarchy. Saraki is saying so. And Saraki is actually one of the presidential aspirants. Okay, country drifting into anarchy. I'm not quite sure whether that's what we want to hear now in Nigeria. Already Boko Haram is raising hell there. Okay, quickly today, Kenya, Oko Obadu and Sharon Otino murder plot takings. Okay, quickly today's let's see what is of interest there. Child adoption video appear to be hoaxes. Police, license of Africa. So it means it was a hoax, not really a true story. Nigeria, UK MP, that's the MP, members of parliament, UK MP orders stage protest for Leah's release on 200th day with Boko Haram. Oh, UK MP orders stage protest for Leah's release on 200th day with Boko Haram. You stay with Boko Haram for 200 days, they inch you'll be free anyway. Right, quickly to this, Kenya government deports racist Chinese man. Government deports racist Chinese man. In fact, a similar story took. I saw a video. Somebody sent me a photograph of a Ghanaian that the Chinese guy, I think, knifed him and all, cut that guy, beat him. I mean, the guy working for them as a manager, they say, well, today what happened? You took it looking too cool. You're not working that much and whatsoever. Before the man will open your mouth, they may beat him on massively. So, but this is it for Kenya. You don't just do it like that, you go free. Government deports racist Chinese man. Okay, quickly, Nigeria, stop denigrating Buhari. Nigerian government warns media. Stop denigrating Buhari. Nigerian government warns the media. Okay, these are the stories that are trending across there. I'm not taking everything. Let's see what Fidel have any interest in the other headlines. Any interest?
Well, I think the only one that just caught my attention was the last one about the warning from the government. You know, obviously, a lot of people are catching on to Trumpism, and presidents across the world are now starting to muscle their own media. You know, obviously, the U.S. used to be, quote unquote, the beacon of hope for freedom and democracy.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've got a president now who wants to outlaw protesting and who calls the media fake news, enemy of the state. So, America is not in a moral place right now to tell the rest of the world not to do things that, they shouldn't be doing. So obviously the Nigerian government is taking lessons from Trump and, like threatening pretty much the media because at the end of the day, if the media has a story to, report, they have to report it, whether it's favorable to the president or not. That's what they should do. And if the government is coming out and saying, stop denigrating the president, that's a threat to the media. And obviously you can see that the effect of President Trump is actually going across the continent and other parts of the world.
Yeah, indeed. I don't know. I think, but in most instances, in most cases, I think the negative connotation attached to such is because of the way they do things as well, the way they portray themselves, the way they perform. Because like in the case of African leaders, especially for Buhari, like I said it the last time he came. I mean, this is his route. He's not well, but this is his route anyway. And the last time, I mean, Nigerian in especially around London, they have to governors themselves together to go to the embassy and asking him to go back to go get treatment and say, well, because if you keep coming here for treatment and you're spending a huge amount of money, I mean, the money you're spending here before you go back after 1 month, 2 months or so, you can even, cater to a clinic, a health center in a village that maybe we even run that clinic for maybe 3 months or so. I mean, but this is it. For us now, I don't know whether they will achieve it in terms of how the social media is now, whether African leaders will be able to muscle, to muscle us. Because what's happening now in across the world, especially, I mean, it's so hard now to just police and stop just everybody that is saying, oh no, whether this is not right. I think this coming into social media, to me personally now, is like we've been empowered in a way.
Well, the thing is, there's one country that still managed to control social media, and that's China. They have managed to control, Facebook and Twitter and certain Western-based media, social media outlets are not allowed to operate in China. So China is managing to some extent to muscle. I know we've had issues when we've worked with colleagues from China and we want to stay in touch with them via Twitter and WhatsApp and Facebook, and that's not possible. So so China is managing to do it. Probably, President Trump wants something similar, like that in the US,
It
and
will work.
even
It's not,
Mr. Buhari and his government want something similar in Nigeria as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
And
That's
before
that's going to be
obviously,
difficult. That's going to be
well,
difficult to police.
it's not impossible, obviously, for countries like Nigeria well, for a lot of African countries, I shouldn't signal out Nigeria, but for a lot of African countries, leaders are capable and usually allowed to do things like these when, because everyone who's around them are usually sycophants and who are just there yes men, they will allow the leaders to do whatever they want. And, as
Mm,
long as they're getting their hands greased, they should be fine. But look, those are some of the problems we have, unfortunately.
yeah. All right. Let's go back home. Let's see what's trending across there. I think what we'll do, as usual, let me share the platform with you guys. We will do the front page last. Let me see if I can focus some of the headlines for you here. To share the good news, nearly good news, everything today, actually. Okay, 4K road to electricity, part of US, oh, sorry, part of US 27 million rural power project. That's the one you see here. So we see a yellow machine already. Let's scroll down and see. Okay, our friend, our colleague, journalist is in the picture here. Reporters Association hails police for pressing charges against lawyer. So the lawyer has been charged already. That means that court business now, this thing will end up in court. House Speaker Chambers is hot water with colleagues. It's in hot water. So uh, I don't know whether they're going to ask him to leave. I don't know how that's going to work. The house is right now crazy. Liberia and China renew agreement on maritime transport. I think we saw this story before yesterday also. Let me quickly take you to this story. We will be talking about later on. Let me see. It should be around here. Okay. It should be around here. Development from Paris. Okay. All right, here's the story because the reason I'm bringing this to here, front page brought it up, but they didn't put this picture there. But BBC, as you can see, BBC World Service brought it there. France arrests Liberian militant commander. They actually brought the picture and show. I don't know which one of them is here actually. There are 3 people here, so maybe it should be this guy that was arrested today. But all of our media outlets actually they didn't bring anything of this. They didn't bring the picture there. So let's go back to the new public trust and just grab some of the headlines as well here. So these are the headlines here so far. I don't know which one you want us to expand on.
Well, I think, obviously, there's the road project that's going, like ongoing, which is important. I think for me, as a rural geographer, when access to opportunities are presented to rural communities, then it's always a good thing. In Liberia, we've had a long history of our rural communities being seen as on the periphery. So they've been suppliers of food, suppliers of raw materials, and suppliers of land for extraction and cultivation of export crops. But then they've not really benefited from any of these. So when like new roads have been built, when power, electricity been taken into these communities is always a good thing. And for some of us, that's beautiful because it's bringing these individuals within the benefits of the nation state, which is always important and crucial. I think I read a story yesterday and earlier today about the Speaker of the House. Uh, I'm not sure how true the story is in terms of his colleagues being they're agitating towards asking him to leave his post because they believe he's not really managed the affairs. I think one case in point is probably this letter that was sent to the Senate to try and impeach Justice Kabina Janet, and obviously as the Speaker of the House, you would have thought that he would understand very clearly what the rules and regulations of the House is, what procedures need to be put in place for an impeachment, process to be legitimate, and to affix his signature to a letter when he should be actually proposing a bill on the floor of the House and then getting that through. I think, in my opinion, that's just my one issue that I would think, well, obviously as a speaker, you should know. And that it has happened under his leadership. And I think, the article talks about other things as well that his colleagues are not so happy about, in the fact that he threatens people, and he can be very aggressive with some people. And look, at the end of the day, if he is taken out, the question for me then is who would be most equipped to come in and be a speaker that can bring the House together and make sure that they're working in the interest of the Liberian people, because that's the most significant thing. The House should work in the interest of the people, and not in the interest of the president or the ruling party. It's about check and balance, and if they're not checking, there cannot be any balance, and then the ordinary people will tend to suffer.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, this new appointment just came in. Let's see whether we can have a gist of it. But Fidel, I'm getting I don't know, somehow I'm getting concerned about our president. When he's speaking, so long the microphone is by him. The president never leave the microphone. So even at the UN, I think he will be the only person that will be playing with that microphone, because that's how he does it. Never, never. All right, new appointments here, but there's a trace in one of the appointments here. I don't know why it changed overnight, because Bill Tiaway was just recently appointed, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, the latest now, President just made an appointment. Liberia President George Mane Weah has made more nominations, appointments in government affecting various government institutions, according to an Executive Mansion press release. They include the Liberia Institute of Public Administration, Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation, Internal Audit Agency, Civil Service Agency, Liberia Electricity Corporation, as well as the Bombay and Lofa County Community Colleges. At the Liberia Institute of Public Administration, Mr. Alexander Yoling, Director General, replaces Honorable Bill Tiaway. At the Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation, Mr. Sensi J. Morris, Deputy Managing Director, Finance. Internal Audit Agency, Mr. Robert Neal, Deputy Director General, Technical Affairs, Civil Service Agency, Mr. James Thompson, Deputy Director General, Human Resources, Liberia Electricity Corporation, LEC Board, Mr. Jacob Fayyad, It's YAD. Seems, I don't know, it's some foreign. Jacob Fayad, member, because I don't want somebody to just say, oh, that was kissing me. This is not kissing him. Madam Victoria Twe, member, Bomi County College. Dr. Actor Vani Yegbe, Chairman Board of Trustees. Dr. Moba Gray, President. K. Lofa County Community College as well. A host of, I see a couple of names there that actually I can identify on this committee as well. But more appointments, man. I thought by now we're supposed to finish with this, we're setting up this government a long time.
Well, the thing is, you would have hoped that by now all of these positions would have been filled, but they've not, clearly they've not been filled. So we have to accept it for what it is. That the president, look, he has the prerogative. Sorry.
What do you think could be the problem? Lack of proper vetting to know who is qualified?
No. I wouldn't say that, because the president could quite easily argue that, look, there were some individuals in these positions, and I wanted to see whether they were qualified or capable of, working in the interest of our pro-poor agenda. And then later on, when he realized that these guys weren't working in the interest of the pro-poor agenda, he then replaced them with other people. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of things, there's also, look, you have to understand the dynamics of the different parties in Liberia. The Unity Party was in power for 12 years.
Yeah.
So the Unity Party, if they had won the elections, would have had more experts and more people available to take up these positions straight away, because they've been in power for a long time. There are a lot of people who joined the party because they had jobs within the government.
Yeah.
The CDC has always been an opposition party. They've just won an election. Now you've seen over the last few days, a lot of young people who were in government before have now started going over to the CDC. So obviously, as people come in, the pool of experience and qualified people grow. And as these pools grow, then the president can then dip into those pools and take people out of them and put them into, because look, the CDC, as much as we want to, whatever they want to say, has been an activist group, not necessarily a political party. They've been an activist group for so long, and a lot of these guys were individuals who were angry at the status quo, which was, kind of reinstated when President Sirleaf became president, and they were just there making noise. Sometimes good noise, but most of the time noise that didn't make sense to anyone. So and most of these guys, as much as they're loud mouths, as much as they are, Liberian people can say they can beat the drum loud. When it comes to governance, these guys don't have the expertise. So you can't just put them in these places. You have to wait to find people who are willing to work. Because the other thing is as well, is people who are willing to work with the president. Because I always hope that there are Liberians in Liberia who have principles, who are not just sycophants and who are not just greedy to get into government to make money out of the government. There are people, I believe, who want to go into the system because they can make a difference. And if they believe that this government will not give them the platform to make that difference, then maybe some of these people, when they were asked, they're like, no, I don't want to work for this government because I don't believe I'll be allowed to do what I need to do. Somebody will be telling me what to do. I wouldn't like that. And, I'll be there in name, but then not affecting any change, So, look, there are a lot of different things, Max, that could have led to this. At the end of the day, the president got some people now that he's put in. We can't put our finger on one issue as in why, there's a lot of things. But I think for me, the biggest one would be the fact that the base of the party prior to election didn't have that many experts. These were mostly, as we'll call them as people in Liberia will refer to these individuals as Zoglos and those, people who didn't really have the educational background. You look, for example, Max, just to prove my point. I was talking to someone recently as an assistant minister for research and extension at the Ministry of Agriculture, who is still in university. He's not even got a first degree, and he's an assistant minister. Now, the extension service of I was in Nigeria in 2017, and we held a conference where we were speaking to individuals working in the extension service. The extension service is so important to the agricultural sector of any country. To have someone who doesn't even have a college degree a university degree, running the extension department within the Ministry of Agriculture. It's a shame. And that just points to my assertion in that, look, the party did not have many qualified individuals. For you to look at the city mayor of Monrovia, who is someone I believe people say is a college dropout, again, it points to the fact that what I'm trying to say is the party itself did not have that base. President Sirleaf, you can say whatever you want to say about her, but most of her friends, most of the people that she surrounded herself with, these were people with double master's degrees and people who, if the mother didn't have 2 masters, then her daughter will have 4 masters, or her son will have 3 masters, or he'll be a doctor. So she had a big pool of friends that she could call on and say, look, what's your son? I heard, Max got 2 masters in this. Can he come and be my assistant minister for this? So you looked across the President Sirleaf government and you saw qualified individuals. And obviously the CDC would say, well, they were qualified, they were here stealing money. Well, that's not the point. But they had the qualification, they had the experience. Whereas with this government, I don't think the party had that base, of people. And I think any other party would have struggled as well, not just the CDC, because obviously these guys weren't in government. And, unfortunately in Liberia, the government is the biggest employer.
Yeah, but this is where then I can't get it then, because politically, when you organize a political party, by the time you go into election, the preparation starts right there. Because especially when you know that you have that edge, that you stand a chance of winning the election, I think the preparation will start right there, especially in terms of appointment, key position, cabinet ministers and things. That you already have them, lined up, or you already have the list, you already have, some institutions, they even start the vetting as early before even the election can come within their institution or so. So that means, to me, in this case, it means that actually the institution, if they are an institution, it wasn't adequately prepared for the job. That's why they are struggling. If you're not prepared for the job, you will struggle to handle the responsibility of it. So, and that preparation is bogged down to what you're just talking about. That preparation bogged down to the qualification as well. How qualified are you? So, in a way, they struggle to get the cabinet, ready for work, taking this long time. I agree with you that maybe there are not much people who are actually who's supposed to go somewhere and say, yes, this is a government man, also.
The thing is, Max, there are other examples as well. You take, for example, Besonga Finlay, who's the foreign minister right now. He wasn't a sedition. He came to the party just before the elections, when he was expected to be named by, Vice President Barker as his running mate. The Vice President chose to go with someone else. He resigned from the party. He went and joined the CDC. So you're right. And what I said earlier, this CDC has been an activist group. It's not really been a political institution. It's been a group of individuals who just, were angry with the system and just brought themselves together under the auspices of His Excellency President Weah, and just caused a lot of noise in Liberia, and they had the financial will to be able to register themselves as a political party, and they did that. And look, once the election was over in December, this government had a month to plan in terms of getting names in place for positions. The president, to his credit, did appoint, to key positions like Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of National Defense, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Justice. Those key positions, Ministry of State. He appointed people into those positions as soon as he became president. To his credit, and look, Liberia is a country where whenever there is a change of government, especially when it goes from one political party to another, or like at the end of a war, or as whatever it is, some people are afraid that the new government might come after them because they worked in the previous government. So most of these people tend to leave Liberia. Like most of the guys in President Sirleaf's government who were at the top echelons of power left the country. They're waiting to see how things play out. And then once they know that things are okay to come back and nobody's after them, then they'll come back. And obviously what you will see, Max, I can guarantee you in 3 years' time, there will be a new group of individuals who will be old. if that makes sense. So there will be guys from the previous regime that will start to pop up one by one, taking over from these so-called seditions who are, unfortunately for them, not qualified to do the job, and at the end of the day, that's just how it is. You look at guys like Emmanuel Shaw. Emmanuel Shaw has been recycled since the regime of President Talbot.
Yeah.
Lowe used him, Totman, Taylor used him, Salif used him. Now he's in the Weir administration, and I can guarantee you, you know, 3 years, within 3 years, I mean, 3 years from the election date, so in the next 2 years or so, you will start to see individuals who were in the government before that will start to pop up in this government. And obviously, I read a very good piece, I think it was in the Front Page Africa the other day, where someone was warning sedition and said, look, these new people that joining your party, so you'll be careful, because
Yeah.
some of y'all start feeling bad about them,
Yeah.
because they will kind of start taking the job, because these guys are qualified individuals, young and willing to work in the
Great
interest of the
work.
Liberian people as well.
Yeah. All right, that's it. Great analysis there from our special guest analyst, Mr. Fidel Budi. Time is chasing us, but let's see quickly. Let's do the Front Page Africa finally. Okay, this is about the by-election. Elections Commission needs US 1.2 million for Sino Monserrado by-elections. I don't even know if the president will say no again this time around, because last time the president, they had it all. The president said no, according to our budget now. Ah, God. Okay, Elections Commission needs US $1.2 million for Sano and Monserrado by-elections. Okay, this one says, what is it? Suspect of crimes against humanity in Liberia arrested in France. Suspect of crimes against humanity in Liberia arrested in France. And quickly to this one. Okay, let's grab the banner here. Pro Travel Gate. Travel Gate. We see the finance minister sitting in this one there. He's actually putting his finger, the hands up. He said, I don't know anything, but let's get the sub headlines. It says here, on first class flight, Coffee Brown takes daughter niece alone. God. Okay, let's quickly. We're talking about president and I don't know. Caught in a lie. Liberia's Ministry of Finance fumbles defense of ministers. So what they are, I think Front Page Africa reported the full full ticket cost and the process of changing everything. But the finance minister. But anyway, you have to come within defense anyway. So let's see what we're going to get after on the analysis. Quickly, let's take the last one here. It says here, Liberia Agriculture Corp plugging in early corruption. That's a question mark. That's the LAC there. Quickly, this last one. Okay, these are the stories that are trending right now. Fidel, quickly, any story of interest yet that you want us to expand on?
I think there's a couple of stories. Obviously, I think the one with Conti K, who was arrested in Paris, is one that you definitely want to talk about. So I think we should.
Yeah.
I think, look, at the end of the day, it's a shame, in my opinion, that we will have to wait for governments outside of Liberia to initiate the arrest and trial of individuals who have done things against the country, in terms of war crimes and the lot. I think our government needs to try and get her finger out and start to actively engage with the citizens to know what they want. I've said this on your show a few times in the past. Talk to the people. Let's have a referendum. See whether the Liberian people want to stick with the recommendations of the TRC, or whether we want to have a war crimes court set up. Whatever they decide is what we have to implement. But then we have to do something about it, because obviously the reason that these guys are getting arrested, the reason people keep talking about it, is because not everyone is happy with the current state of affairs. Because we had the TRC, we had the report, nothing was done about it. So if you say no, we can't go to war crimes, then implement the report of the TRC. These individuals who the TRC excluded from government positions should be excluded from government positions. And if they refuse to do so, then we should prosecute them, because they will be in breach of the TRC recommendations. So something has to be done. And obviously it's nice to see. Obviously we know someone was arrested here in the UK, I think last year. A couple of guys have been arrested in the US, and now Conti K was arrested in France, a former UNIMO fighter who's been accused of killing a lot of people. I think he's accused of murder, slavery, use of child soldiers, and cannibalism. Between like 1992 or 93 till about the end of the war. So look, whenever individuals who have committed atrocities against Liberians are brought to justice, we are all happy about it. We have to wait until he go to trial. He's innocent until he can be proven guilty. But in the main, it is another test of the international community's resolve to try and push for accountability for individuals who commit atrocities against innocent civilians in their quest for power or their quest for wealth and things like those. And I think the second story obviously would be the finance minister debacle. Look, we've said this, and you have been one of those who've said this a lot. And we've talked about the fact that the president has started constructing all of these new homes. We've talked about the fact that the Minister of State has taken a loan to buy a $200,000 home. We've talked about the fact that the finance minister, someone just uploaded images of his new house that he's building. And now we've seen the acting managing director of the Freeport go on a government paid for a trip to China and take her daughter and her niece. I'm not sure what her daughter and her niece will be doing in terms of the negotiation, but look, I put this in the same bracket, Max, as the situation with Justice Kabina Janet. I think it's appalling that our members of the House of Representatives will not put the Liberian people first. You've got people dying, people losing their properties with the flooding. And unfortunately, instead of our members of the House trying to aid these individuals by coming up with an aid package from the government, they're running after a witch hunt against Justice Kabina Janet, which is a complete slap in the face of the individuals who voted for them. These people voted for them last year because they felt that they would go into the House and represent their interests. But they've now taken on their own personal vendetta against someone who, in my opinion, is not guilty, because the evidence against Justice Janet there's no smoke at all. And, I think it's a complete travesty that they will do that. And this, by the Minister of Finance, is no different. By the acting managing director of Freeport, it's no different. It's, these individuals, this government believes that they can get away with anything. They made it very clear during the campaign. I was in Liberia during the second round of the campaigning, and a lot of my friends who were in the CDC made it very clear that they felt that it was their time to enjoy. And that is the notion that really gets to me, because it should be your time to come and make a difference. It should be your time to come and take Liberia from 0 to 50 or wherever it is. It should be your time to come change the status quo, not to come and do exactly what the other people were doing in the past. So you complain about these things for many years. You get an opportunity to come and make a difference, and then you go and start to do exactly the same thing. And it's hard, Max. It's painful for some of us, because we know. Look, I say this to people a lot of the time, and it's not about bragging or anything like that. The positions that we find ourselves in, you, myself, and a lot of Liberians in the diaspora, we will always be okay. We will almost always be okay. We will always almost have food on our tables.
Yeah.
Our ordinary brothers and sisters, those who are in Montserrado County right now, living in slums, who every time it rains, they have to walk through dirty water with feces in them. They have to see their homes damaged. They have to see their means of survival, destroyed. And then the people that you voted for, who are sitting there taking $15,000 a month, that's not enough, that they're taking all that money while the people are suffering. And then when these things happen, to even just for the optics, just so that people can see you and say, oh, the men doing good. Not even because you want to do it, just so people can see you and say, yeah, the men are good men. Just do it for that sake. Don't do it because you love human beings. Just do it for the optics, just so that people can see you and say, yes, Representative Gray is good. He came, he donated 3 bags of rice. My brother, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter why you do these things as long as you do them, in my opinion, especially at this particular time. If you take $2,000 from your 15,000 a month salary, buy a few bags of rice, buy some used clothes, buy some tents, buy some buckets, buy some drinking water, safe drinking water for kids, some medication. Take a team from one of these local referral hospitals and go into your district and help these individuals, Max. That will go a long way in securing you. Just play politics with people. Yes, it's horrible, but at least somebody will survive because they had food. At least somebody would survive because they had medicine. And the finance minister's actions is exactly the same. Obviously, what they tried to do is they came up with because the policy said that apart from the president is the only person that can travel first class. Everybody else, like the justices, the vice president, should travel business class. Every other minister must go economy class. That's what the policy said. That was written in 2016. They are saying that they've changed the policy. Now, if you came to this government and you're pro-poor, why would you change the policy from ministers flying economic class to ministers flying business class? How is that helping the poor people? There's an old man I know who always said to me, look, when the plane arrive, we all arrive at the same time. Business class don't arrive before economic class. We all get up. Honestly, man, we all arrive at the same time.
Yeah,
the
but
thing is, he said to me that, look, sometimes even the people in business class has to wait for us in economic class to come out first before they come out, because so at the end of the day, what's the difference? You're going to fly, you're going to get to where you're going. At the end of the day, look, for me, I just think these guys are, like they say in the UK, they're making a mockery of the Liberian people.
There you go.
It's sad. That's all I can say about it. It is a very sad situation that the people that they've entrusted, to change the status quo are the ones that are doing it even worse than the president. At least, the president said even her guys had the decency of flying economic class. These guys are not, it's not just a business class, Max, but business class on Emirates. They're probably the most expensive airline in the world.
In the
It's not
world.
just business class, but business class on the Emirates, Max. All I've done in my life is seen Emirates flight. I've not even gone in one of them before. I don't even think I ever spend my money to go in one, because I don't see the point. But $16,000 for a return trip from Monrovia to China and back. That's so much money, Max.
Yeah, man, that's exorbitant, man.
That's
up to now,
so
I can't comprehend up to now. 16,000?
$16,000. That's so much money. That don't even include the hotel that we paid for.
No.
Which was probably a 5-star hotel. It didn't even include the feeding and the transportation and the stipend and maybe each of them took their wives with them. It didn't even include that. And according to the rules, if the president, vice president, or I think the justices, the speaker, and the pro tem take their spouses, they get half of whatever their spouse get.
What?
So if President Sirleaf had a spouse and she was traveling and she got 10,000, her spouse will get 5,000. Wow. That's travel money. So if that applies to the minister and the minister is taking 3,000, so if he took 2 of his family members with him, that's each of them get 1,500. That's an extra 3,000 that we have to pay for a family member who is going to do nothing just because I'm the family member of the minister. So I get to. That's a travesty, Max. That's horrible. That's how you can't take people for a ride like that. That's a complete disrespect to the ordinary Liberians.
Yeah,
it's horrible. It's a shame that but that's what it is at the moment in time. These guys have come in. They want to get rich out of the Liberian people, and that's where we are.
Well, when I up to now I keep reading the story over and over because I really want to understand whether this story, Front Page Africa, I like them, I believe in them, whether this story is actually authentic also. Until I spoke with somebody today from finance, I said, "My man, that thing we're talking, I just waste the time. That money was spent."
So no, but the thing is, the Front Page Africa presented images of the ticket. The ticket image is there, so you can see it. His name is on it. The departure destination, the departure location, the destinations on it. Is the amount is on it. So how can you say, oh no, that's not true? You know, look, Max, I don't know. You know, that's just what it is, and it's horrible. You know, that's all I can say about it. It's a horrible situation.
Okay, Fidel, I will thank you so much. We've gone 5 minutes into the allotted time from your end. Thank you so much for tonight. We appreciate your analysis as usual. Thank you so much, and we want to wish you a happy weekend. Hopefully, we're looking forward for Wednesday again.
Oh no, yes, definitely. We'll speak again on Wednesday, Max. Thank you very much.
Okay, buddy. Thank you so much, and have a pleasant weekend.
You too. You too. Thank you.
All right. All right, tonight we'll have an extended edition of the review of the print news. I'm expecting Amos Joe to join me right after I end this one here. We gotta end this one right here now, and then we come back with a fresh one. So what I normally do is after some days on Facebook, I send all of my materials. I send it all to my YouTube channel. That's why most of the time, if you don't see any material, if you come by, you say, oh, but I didn't see this one. You have to go to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Fidel Bully. That's the Secretary General of the Union of Liberian Organizations in the UK. He's also based here right now, almost at the end of his PhD. Reading his PhD and writing his PhD. Okay, that is it, right? Thank you. All right, thank you so much. God bless you on this note. I'll be back shortly.